Hello.
Hey, there she is.
How are you?
What's up? How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I cannot wait for this one. This one's
Oh
going to be
gosh.
great.
Oh gosh.
All right, guys, I am super excited to announce today's presenter at our virtual lunch and learn, Brindley Tucker. Miss Brindley Tucker, right? The talented Miss Brindley
Oh
Tucker.
gosh. I got you all fooled. I have you all
So,
fooled.
Brindley, you guys, Brindley is a licensed realtor and she is the owner of Your Realty Leverage. She's had an awesome story and I'm going to ask her a little bit about that story. But today she's going to talk about the power of leverage, systems, models, and people. And she knows this subject very well. I would say she's very close to mastery, if not mastered it. Correct, Brindley?
I'm getting there. That's for sure.
You're getting close to the 10,000 hours.
Oh yeah, I would say.
So cool. All right, Brindley, tell us a little bit about your journey. Where did you start, and how did you get where you are today?
How deep do you want me to go?
Let's go. Let's go when you started. Let's go deep. Let's go deep. All right.
Yeah. So just to kind of give you a little bit of history to validate myself on the admin side. Got out of college, went to Manhattan, got really lucky, got to spend my 20s in Manhattan. Didn't focus on career much, which will come here in a minute, but I started as an assistant in investment banking. And so everything I've done in my life, I went the path of become the assistant, right? Or the apprentice, so to speak, to learn the role before you do it. And so long story short, speed up, 32. This is 2012. I'm at home. I'm back home in Tampa, Florida. I'm in a relationship with someone that it's not a healthy relationship. It's not good. You know, I had worked on Wall Street. I had done all these amazing things. I sold country club memberships for Club Corp. That's how I learned about real estate.
Okay.
And at 32, I'm back home. I have nothing to show for anything I've done for the last, 12 years since I got out of college.
Yeah.
And I'm in the darkest place in my life. I decided that I was unemployable and I wanted to go into real estate, and I didn't want to spend a bunch of money. And following the track record, become the assistant first, I applied to become a real estate assistant. Okay. And Nikki Ubaldini, our regional OP here in Florida, hired me to be a director of agent services in one of our market centers.
All right. So
and
that's where the real estate journey started.
That's where the real estate journey started. Yeah, that was November 2011.
Okay, so from Wall Street back to Tampa Bay, you're starting to get in a little bit dark place there. You're going like, what the heck is going on? To now, all right, I'm becoming a real estate. I'm starting to work at a real estate office.
Yeah, I'm starting to go into real estate. Cool. And so fast forward that February of 2012, a few months later, those of you that aren't with Keller Williams, you should join. Just that's my shameless plug. And those of you that are, who know our annual conference, Family Reunion. And I went to my first family reunion. I went to my team leader and said, I'll pay for half if you'll pay for half, because it was right in Orlando. Mm-hmm. And I walked into that family reunion and all I heard was God, family, business.
Yeah.
And everyone was so happy and they were so helpful, and it was collaboration and contribution and abundance. And I remember coming home from that family reunion and crying out to God and saying, I don't want to live, but I don't want to die. And everything that's missing in my life that I am filling alcohol and drugs and men and all of these things with is God, family, business is missing.
Yeah.
And so that's February. I would continue down the path. By May of 2012, it had gotten really bad. It was to the point where I was drinking just to get up in the mornings and go to work. And Memorial Day weekend, 2012, I was coming home from a Mary Kay party. And I made a U-turn in front of a motorcycle. And for 2 days, I thought he was dead. And I thought I was going to prison for a really long time. And I remember, obviously you go to jail when those type of things happen. And I got out of jail the next morning and called the police station to find out where my car was. And they told me it was being held, an investigation of a vehicular homicide.
Oh, man.
And I looked at my mom and I said, what am I going to do if I killed somebody?
Yeah.
And my whole life changed that day. My whole life. And Joe, I truly believe that if I would not have been at Keller Williams, I would not be where I am today. Because our Keller Williams family scooped me up during that time. Nikki did the best thing for me and let me go. And it forced me to, I get emotional every time I talk about this because I love our company
Sure.
so much. Because it truly is our culture, right? And it's our culture in action. It's not just a story that we're talking about, like this is real life, you know? And I remember a few agents knew that I wanted to make some major changes. And so they hired me to like, it was when E-Edge came out, if y'all ever remember that.
Yeah.
People forget that like we've been through this whole technology thing before, right?
Yeah. We've been down this road.
Yeah, and so some agents hired me to do their E-Edge, and I would literally strap my laptop to the back of my Schwinn bike cruiser, and I would bike from office to office, helping agents do websites and admin. And then Fred Collis, I'll never forget him, said, "Will you do my transactions for me?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I don't know contract to close, but we'll figure it out." And an agent, Maureen Cascow, I recorded her on how to do a transaction from start to finish. And I would play that recording every transaction that I did. And I went from just me in 3.5 years to doing about 2,000 real estate transactions a year as an independent TC.
Woo! 2,000. Those are some big numbers right there, Brindley.
Yeah. Team of 6. I think we capped at 2,000 our highest year.
Wow, good for you. And what I love is that you knew to video things even before the pandemic. You were like, let's video this, right?
Like, you know, like, yeah. And I would. It's so funny because I'd be like, oh, title, what do we do? And I would fast forward the recording and go to it. And that's how I learned.
Yeah. So Brindley, you shared something very emotional, very powerful with us, right? And we appreciate you and thank you for doing that. So how did you decide you were going to rebound from that? I mean, that's a big deal, right? Yeah. What were the things that, you know, everyone's gone through some very emotional things in their lives. This one was obviously very emotional to you and very impactful in your life. How did you decide that, hey, I'm going to get through this? What was that struggle like, and how did you push through it?
Yeah. So, you know, like, when you hear something as strong as that you could have taken another person's life, it's scary enough, right? And I think that there's emotion, and I've never said this, and I didn't really realize it until you just asked that question, Joe. Like, I think there's an emotion that you go through, like, would it have been better off? Like, you never want to take a human life, but would my life be better off if I would have just been put in prison for the rest of my life, right? And I would have just been left there. Would it have been easier, right? Yeah. Because the journey to recovery is not easy. Right. You know, simple, not easy. And so I think that, you know, when it was the idea of, oh my goodness, like, I was so selfish that I never ever thought when I got behind the wheel of a car that I could possibly take another human life. Right. And then being given the second chance at life that he didn't die, and being told that, hey, you have a second chance. And I think that, like, the responsibility that comes with that is like huge, right? Because now you got a second chance at life that a lot of people don't get. And so what are you going to do with it? Right? Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to impact? How are you going to change lives? And I always give credit to Kevin Hazlett, because he's the attorney that I walked into his office. And I remember it clear as day. I walked in with my pearl necklace and my Kate Spade, right? Thinking, oh, I'll just get out of this like I did before. And he's like, homegirl, you're going to go to recovery, and you're going to put an ankle bracelet on your ankle, and you're going to do whatever it takes to stay out of prison. And that for me was like the most humbling experience of, like, I remember having to ride public transportation and having to, if you've ever had public health assistance, it's like a treasure map to try to figure out how to get county assistance. And here I am on food stamps and health insurance, you know, from the county, and I'm having to go from place to place to figure it all out. And I think that whole experience, you know, is what propelled me to go forward. Also, the comment, I called a friend one day, it was 95 degrees in Florida. I was on my Schwinn, and I just, like, on the side of the road had a meltdown. And I was like, I can't do it anymore. I give up. I'd rather die. I'd rather go rot in jail. Like, I can't do it. And she said, Brindley, do you know how many people you're going to be able to help because of this experience?
Wow.
And that, it was like something clicked for me, and it was like, okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah. That's awesome, Brindley. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know that's not an easy story to say, you know, to talk about, but I've heard you talk about it before, and you talk about it, and you talk about it with such a low part of your life, but you're actually inspiring, you know, when you talk about it, because you tell people, hey, I've been there, I've been at rock bottom, and I've built this back up, you know, and this is where I'm at. So today, right, you're a realtor and you're the owner, right, of your realty leverage.
Well, I'm now the owner of your leverage team because we just opened another business in the middle of, you know, and I was just sitting here when you read the bio and I was like, wow, like, Joe, we met I was in Chicago 6 months ago.
Yeah, right.
And I had a totally different team. I had a totally different business.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just amazing. Like,
sounds a lot like me, just totally different team, totally different. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it is though, right? Like you and I have been kind of on parallel, similar journeys these last 6-7 months.
That's right. I see Melissa laughing. You like that one, right, Melissa? Back at it again. So, hey, man, it's part of the journey, right?
Round two, Melissa. Second time's always better, right?
Well, I'm on like 6th, but anyways, okay. So, well, that's another topic. That's another topic.
Yeah.
All right, Brindley, you're talented, right? You came from rock bottom. You built some businesses up and stuff like that. You talked a little bit about the mindset, but we want you to really kind of walk us through right now, like this whole concept of leverage. It's scary for people, right? Because a lot of times some of the agents that are listening or on this call are like, leverage means money, right? You know, like, oh man, if I get leverage, that means that's going to cost me money, right? Mm-hmm. What does Brindley Tucker tell people? I mean, this is part of your business, right? Talking people into getting leverage. So what is Brindley Tucker's advice and why does it work?
Yeah. So I always say, keep it simple, silly, right? The more that we simplify in our businesses, the faster we're able to scale. And I think for a lot of us, we tend to either overthink or go so fast that we don't slow down enough to think. Yet either way, we're not in a simple, scalable way of thinking. And so I always say, when we start to explore leverage, the first thing we always start with is self-worth. Mm-hmm. And knowing your worth. Do you know what you're worth? Do you know your hourly rate?
Right.
Or what you want your hourly rate to be. And so I do a very simple, quick exercise. It's not going to give you the exact amount, but it's going to give you the idea of amount. And that is, you take your monthly income. So how much is actually going into your bank account that you get to use towards your life?
Okay. I'm writing that down. Monthly.
And so you take your monthly, and let's say that's $2,000 for math purposes. We're going to divide that by 4, okay. Right? So that's going to give us $500 a week, right?
Okay.
Let's say you work 40 hours a week, right?
Okay.
That's going to give you how much?
I stopped writing it down. Hold on.
About $12.50, right? An hour.
All right, cool. $12.50 an hour.
Yep. So that's your hourly rate.
Okay.
So what a lot of people do is when they do this, most of us realize that we're working for almost pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. Got it.
And the reason is because we're trying to do all things and we're doing a lot of activities that are way below our hourly rate. So instead of looking at this big pie in the sky number of, oh my gosh, I have to pay this person $40,000 a year, let's turn it around and look at, what am I paying myself by having this person? Instead of it being a debit out of our account, what if it's a credit?
Right. Debit instead of a credit. Yeah, right. What if it is a credit? I'm sorry.
What if it's a credit? What if by hiring this person, you're actually putting money back into your pocket?
Right.
Because you're increasing your hourly rate.
So, Brindley, I mean, you have some of the top real estate teams in the country that use you, right? What are some, like, what are some success stories of someone that was like, I don't know if I could do this, I'm terrified to get leverage, and they did it? What are some of the success stories that you have seen personally?
Yeah. Well, number one, they had to be ready for it, right? So, and I'm not saying you have to have all your systems lined up. I'm not saying you have to have an operations manual. What I'm saying is that you've got to be ready to go through the journey of leadership. And you've got to be ready to be responsible for someone else. And here's what most of us on this call are drivers. And when that challenge is put in front of us that we have to feed another family, we're going to do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Mhm.
So it's really, most of us, it's about pulling the trigger. So the successful people are the people that say, you know what, I'm going to take a stand for me and my business. I'm going to determine my hourly rate. And then I'm going to follow the process, career visioning, 30, 60, 90, right? Or I'm going to hire someone that's going to hold me accountable to following it.
Yep.
And then I don't hire out of desperation. I don't do a lifeboat hire, someone that it's like the life ring is thrown out and I just pick them up and the ship is sinking. And so I just plug the hole with whatever comes my way.
Yeah.
Because that's when the revolving door starts. And all of us on this call know somebody that's had a revolving door in their organization, right?
And Brindley, I would say that probably, I'm going to ask you this. I would assume that I love the lifeboat that you say, that most people say, hey, if they do this leverage, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to hire this person and then everything's going to be better. Right. Yeah. And then just magically, all of a sudden, all this business is going to appear. They're just going to know what they're doing. Right. Yeah. Okay. 100%. So that's typically, so what systems are there in place, or what systems would you recommend that people avoid that from happening?
So I would say a couple things. Number one is use the career visioning process. Gary, for those of you that aren't with Keller Williams, you should join, because we have the career visioning process. And what Gary has created in a lot of man hours, we have a master on this on the call, Mr. Schumacher. So if I say something that's not appropriate, just jump in, or if you want to add value, you just jump off. Is you have to follow the process, and the process is there for a reason. Each step of our career visioning process shows a different aspect of the candidate, and it's all built in to help you make sure that you make the right hire. I would beg to say that there's an 80 to 90% higher success rate if you follow the process, if not more, than when you don't. Mm-hmm. And most of us hire out of desperation, and we're quick to hire because we want to stop the hemorrhaging. And then what happens is we end up costing ourselves more time and money because we hire the wrong, and we hire a bad hire. So number one is making sure that you take your time. Now, if I can do a shameless plug here, we just launched, a lot of good things come out of COVID, and we just launched on Friday our temp services, our work share program. So now we have a solution for agents where, hey, we can put someone in the role that's trained and experienced temporarily to stop the hemorrhaging, so that you can take the time in finding the right person. Now, an independent transaction coordinator in your office is an awesome way to also do that. Hire them to take that load off of you, and then use that time to really hone in on finding the right talent.
Right. That's huge. Hey, Brindley, to that point, given what's going on right now, with COVID and all the disruption happening in the real estate market, are you seeing a shift in talent right now?
This is an interesting topic, Joe. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No, please go ahead.
I get excited and do that. It's one of my opportunities for growth. So we thought in the beginning of this, and we all preached it, right? There's going to be a flood of talent that's going to come on the market because everybody's getting laid off. The difference in this shift, though, was that most people were able to go on furlough, meaning that their job was secure and they were able to collect unemployment at the same time. And in most states, they were getting an extra $600 or somewhere around that a week. So some of them were making more money, if not the same amount of money as they had on a job. So we saw it was stagnated for a while. Now what's starting to happen is that unemployment is not coming as fast as people thought it was going to. More businesses are shutting down. Businesses aren't opening as fast. And now we're seeing an increase in talent.
Right. Also,
7.4% of total mortgages in the country are now in forbearance. We're going to see that number increase here in May as those payments become due. So what's going to start to happen is that those payments are going to start becoming due in 3 to 6 months, and we're going to start to see a mini housing crisis. And so now what we're starting, and people are already starting to, oh my goodness, I can't pay my mortgage. I need to get back to work and I can't wait anymore. Yeah. So now we're starting to see the surge in talent happen.
Got it. That's great. I mean, that was very powerful, right? I mean, that makes total sense how you just said it. So, all right. So you made a pivot, you shifted, right? You said, hey, whatever. So how would what recommendation would you give to agents on the call or listening in of saying, all right, Brindley, you just kind of walked me through what you think was going to happen here. I'm struggling, maybe I'm struggling with leverage, or I have leverage and I don't know if it's the right person and stuff like that. What steps would Brindley Tucker, what advice would Brindley Tucker give on that?
Yeah. So we're in an interesting time, right? We're moving into the next chapter. I don't ever say what phase because we really don't know how many phases this whole thing is going to have. I mean, I don't know about you all, but no one that I ever talk to has a crystal ball. So no one really, really knows what's going to happen. And they'd be really, really rich if they did. And so what I am recommending that you do is, number one, look at the leverage that you have. And remember that leverage is not just humans. Leverage is systems, models, tools, people, right? So look at the leverage that you currently have in place. Number one, is it getting you a 2 times return is the minimum. We'd like to see 7 to 10. You know, Gary said on his Think Like a CEO podcast that every position should make you 2 times their salary in GCI, right? So also look at your systems. Are your systems costing you money? Are they adding value? Have we overcomplicated them, right? Sometimes that happens as we pile system on top of system, and next thing you know, everything is so complicated that it's costing us time, right? And time is money, that hourly rate. So first go look at all your leverage. If it's not making you a return, and I'm just going to say it, you owe it to your business, to your families, and to yourself to make some really hard decisions.
Yeah. No.
And you're not helping your leverage by keeping them on and keeping them employed because you feel bad for them and you don't want to let them go. What you're doing is you're actually holding them back from a future opportunity where they could flourish or they could actually make more money.
Got it.
And here's why. There are people who their whole lives, they don't work for upturns, they work for downturns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They work for bottom markets because, I mean, I had this ugly banyan tree in my backyard. I could show it to you. It's the most disgusting thing that you've ever seen, right? Had a guy come out before COVID, quoted me $3,000 to take the tree down and $3,000 to stump grind it.
Right.
So I told my assistant, also known as my mother, to call another tree guy.
Yeah.
Guy came out, $2,000 to do the entire thing and take down all the trees on the right side of my house.
Total. Right? Total. Yeah, I know.
Right? Because he ain't got no work.
Yeah, right?
so like we have to look at leverage at the same way right now, is what deals are out there that we're not taking advantage of to increase our leverage. So that's number one, is go back and evaluate all the leverage. Number two is look for the gaps. Where do the gaps exist? Number one, where am I not making money that I can, or where am I losing money that I shouldn't be? And that's either going to be a gap in a system, a model, a tool, or a person.
So, Brindley, you say systems, models, systems,
models, tools, and people.
People, right? If I'm a newer agent, or if I'm an agent that's, where do I start? Okay.
Where do you start?
If I have those 3 things, where do I start? You
start with the model. You start with the model because you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right. So I start with the model. I pick a model and I say, I'm going to start following this model.
I'm going to start following this model. Level 1 MREA.
Got it.
The red book, I don't care if you're not with Keller Williams, you should join.
Roberto's showing it right now.
Yeah. If you're not with Keller Williams, you should join. Right. This is your ops manual as a real estate agent. Do you see how this is all like tagged? And I have, okay, here's the page for profit share. Here's the page for leverage. Like this is your own operations manual.
Yeah.
Like here you go. So this is the model. This will tell you exactly what to do. What happens though, is that we get enamored with celebrities, whatever the heck that term means, right? And we go, oh my gosh, Ben Kenny's doing it, or oh my gosh, Chris Suarez is doing it, or oh my gosh, so Joe Zimmerman has the cute beard and he's doing it now. And we go and we listen to all these people. Well, you know what my mom says? What's an opinion? It's like a what? Everybody's got one. And when you ask 100 different people their opinion, guess what you're going to get?
100 different answers.
100 different answers. So if you're going to keep it simple, start with the model.
So Brindley, that red book, right? Roberto pulled it up as well. I have mine about 15 feet away also. For those who haven't engaged in it, when they can go travel, do they go sit on a beach and just read it once and that's going to be good enough or what?
I have 2 of these. I don't know where the other one is, but this book is like, I mean, everything. This book stays with me. Again, it's your operations manual, right? This is the thing. Here's what happens when, let's talk about the car. Oh, by the way, if you have not had a recruiting appointment with Joe Zimmerman and you're in Chicago and you have a recruiting appointment with him, I will send you a free copy of this book.
Oh, nice.
I'll also send you a copy of your second operations manual right now, which is Shift, right?
Nice.
This is the second one, right? So, you can pay me later, Joe. So, so
I'll get your treat on for you.
Don't treat it like your car owner's manual, right? How many of us, like, we buy a new car, we look at it for like a second, we put it in our glove compartment, and then we never look at it again until we want to know how many gallons our gas tank holds.
Yeah.
Or how to program our garage door opener.
Right. Yep.
And then we wonder when our cars die or when we haven't done our maintenance or we don't know anything about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just want to know the what? The bells and whistles and the shiny objects.
Yeah.
We don't want to go underneath the hood.
Right.
And we have to start going under. Do you want to be a realtor or do you want to be a business owner? And business owners have to be willing to go underneath the hood. And this helps you go underneath the hood, and it gives you the simple models to follow. It gives you the budget model, the economic model, the lead generation model, the organizational model. It's all right here.
That's awesome. Right?
Yeah.
It's right there. It's a blueprint,
Yeah.
right? And don't just, it's not a leisure read like you said. You said it great. You gave a great example there, Brindley, but study it. Keep it next to your book, right? Go to it, reference it, know what pages, what models are on what pages, master it, right?
Master it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so Brindley, so models, right? And we just picked up the book and whatever. Systems.
Yep.
What system should I do?
So Gary tells us there are 5 things that a real estate agent should be doing. Mm-hmm. And that is lead generation, lead follow-up, scripts and role play, go on appointments, and negotiate contracts. So what is your system for each one of those? And I would go in order. What is your system for lead generation? Your database. If you don't have a database, you might as well take a bunch of Benjamins and flush them down the toilet because you're just flushing money down the toilet if you don't have a database, right? I talked to a girl today that she's been in real estate since 2017. She's closed 3 homes. And I said, okay, I got to ask a question. Did you have a database? She goes, nope. And I go, and did you suck at follow-up? She goes, yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it right there. Like, I didn't even have to, that was the diagnosis, right? Like, I didn't have to hear anymore. I knew exactly what the problem was, and there wasn't a strong foundation of a database. And it doesn't have to be fancy. Keep it simple. If you're not with Keller Williams, you should join. If you are, Command, just get them into Command.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy. And don't be daunted again. Don't look at the big pie in the sky number. Just say, I'm just going to get 40 contacts today and I'm going to get them into Command. Yeah. And then I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to do it again. And before you know it, you'll have 4,000 contacts in your database.
Hey, Brindley, I mean, I want your perspective here because you said it, right? And you said it great of saying, hey, you went into the business in the operations side. Mm-hmm. And you've excelled at it. You've excelled at it at the highest level. So why do real estate agents or business owners, why do we struggle so much with this? Why do we struggle with the simplicity of it? Like, what's your observation on that?
I think it's 2 things. Number 1, it's not fast enough and it's not fun enough.
Success is boring, right?
Success is boring. And, high DIs are the majority of successful real estate agents are high DIs. Mm-hmm. And high Ds want to move fast and you have to be able to slow down to work on a database. And high Is want to socialize and have fun, and work in a database ain't fun. Right. Now, talking to people is fun, right? I can talk to people all day long, but conversations aren't going to get me business. Tracking the conversation, solving the problem, diagnosing the problem, and providing the prescription is what's going to make me money.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. That's the boring part, right?
Really, because you worked with so many of us and you've succeeded at the highest level. It has to be them, right? Like, they have to make the decision. You can push them as much as you want, but they just have to look in the mirror and say, I'm going to build this business, mm-hmm. right? And then the simplicity of it is, it's all in my database. Mm-hmm. That's what you're telling me?
100%.
Cool.
And ask yourself, you know, I asked this woman, I said, why'd you get into real estate in the first place? And I got the response that will make some of you chuckle. Well, because I love to show houses.
Yeah. Let's look at them, right?
Most people get into real estate because they want to show houses. Real estate is not showing houses. We all know that, right? Being a realtor, I mean, you can be a good realtor and sell 24 homes a year, really just getting by the skin of your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Yet that's not, thinking like a realtor isn't going to help you grow a big business.
Yeah.
It's not going to fund your perfect life. And I think too, you have to go back, Joe, and ask why. Why am I doing this? Who am I doing it for? You know, I've been saying a lot lately that, you know, God, family, business are our values. And I'm almost saying now, God, me, family, business. Because if I don't take care of me first and know why I'm doing things and I don't love me, I certainly can't take care of family or business.
Right. Yeah, you got to be first, right?
Because your business grows to the extent that you do. That's our bold law, right?
Brindley, given your journey, how are you taking care of Brindley right now?
You know, this is really, so mindset is number one. And, you know, people asked me in the beginning of this journey, they're like, I had a friend actually call me like the first couple of weeks and she goes, okay, is it real? And I'm like, what? And she goes like, you're so positive on Facebook. Like, is it real? Or like, are you putting on a show? Yeah. And I said, you know what? Actually, it's real because during my journey of recovery, I'm taught a few things. I'm taught lean on God and get into the service of others. Yeah. Those are the two things is I'm taught that. And so I started, you know, Gary gives us again in our operations manual, page 308, right? 308 is the 5-step energy plan. He even gives us how we can give ourselves enough energy to get through these times. And that's spiritual energy. So every morning I wake up, I don't jump out of bed like a bat out of you know what, like I used to. I take a moment and I just be. And I just lay there and I allow myself to wake up and greet the world and greet the day. And then I go get a coffee and I get back in bed for 30 minutes from 6:30 to 7. And I do my spiritual readings, I do my prayer, and I do meditation. Now I don't sit there for 20 minutes and meditate because there's no way in heck that this girl could do that. I do 5 minutes because I'd rather do 5 minutes of complete strong meditation than 20 of my mind racing all over the place. Yeah. No, right. No. I stopped trying to live up to what other people said I needed to do and started doing what worked for me. Right. Right. I do affirmations and then I do Adrian. Oh my, I discovered this new thing, guys. Yoga with Adrian on YouTube. Yoga with Adrian. Oh, have you heard of her?
No, but I'm sure it's awesome.
Dude, I will, yes, with Benji, Alex, yes, with her dog. I will never pay to go to yoga ever again. I don't need to. And I don't have to get in the car and drive and waste time. And it's right in my living room. And so I started doing 30 minutes of yoga. And then I get on James Shaw's pivot call. So now I've gotten my spiritual energy. I've gotten my physical energy. I kind of pet my doggies and cuddle with them for emotional energy because I'm single.
I'm emotional energy.
Yeah, that's my emotional energy. I'm single. I'm always taking resumes too. Then I do the mental energy, right, with the pivot call at 8 a.m. And then business energy, I'm getting right into business and starting my lead gen and working on my business. So that's really, guys, how I'm staying sane through all of this is my morning routine. And then I run for 30 minutes in the middle of the day. And I get outside.
That's awesome. You guys, I mean, for you guys who have tuned in pretty consistently or have listened in, it's the morning ritual has been consistent, right? All these successful people, it is all having to do with winning their mornings, right? You know, and just, hey, here's how I get myself set. And there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's just, what are you going to do? Just do it and do it consistently, right? You know.
And here's the other thing. Yeah, and the other thing I would say two things. Number one, if you're starting to feel down and depressed, honestly, the fastest thing is to ask yourself, who can I help and how quickly can I help them? Right. Because when you get into the service of others, it gets you out of yourself. And it's hard to think about me when I'm helping someone else, and it makes us feel good. Mm-hmm. And then number two, I would also say, what was the other thing I was going to say? Anyway, I totally forgot. It'll come to me in a minute.
Sierra wants to know, can you review really quickly? Can you review the 5 systems once more?
Yeah. So lead generation, which is going to be your database. Mm-hmm. Lead follow-up. This is the one, guys, when I ask people, what are the 5 things that a real estate agent does? Guess which one people always forget?
The gold, the
Lead
follow-up.
follow-up. That's the goal, right? So what's your system for lead follow-up? How are you tracking things? So lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments. Now, Gary's talking about obviously buy-sell appointments. I kind of say appointment is anything that's going to require a meeting with a client. So open houses, listing appointments, buyer appointments, showing houses, anything that's going to require, you know, Sarah, I don't know if you've had Sarah OG Reynolds on here yet, but Homegirl, their team, genius. They're doing virtual on-demand appointments.
Yeah.
So they're ISAs, and you could do this even if you don't have an ISA. Instead of setting the virtual appointment for a day or 2 days later, they're just saying, hey, let's do the appointment right now.
Yeah. Yep.
And you don't lose them, and you get them, and then you send them the paperwork right when you're online, signed, done.
Lucas and Alyssa Howard said that yesterday, that they're like, hey, the follow-up and the lead follow-up and the conversion rates are so much higher because we're just booking them right there on the saying, hey, I'm going to send you a Zoom link right now. Let's do it. Right.
Yeah, 100%. And then, so it's lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointments, scripts and role play. The scripts are the same. The conversations are different. So therefore the scripts are going to be different. I am a big believer of finding someone that's in a similar market as you across the country to be a script partner with, because you get to hear something different.
Yep.
And you get to hear innovation, and you get to collaborate around what they're doing in their market that might be different, and you get more ideation that way. Now, a lot of people ask, how can I get a script partner? Book face it. Go to the book face, go to the Facebook, and just say, hey, I need a script partner.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people will raise their hands. Andy Peters and I from Atlanta, Georgia did that for a while, right?
Yeah. And it gets you into another market. Also, great referral source. Now you have a referral partner in another market similar to yours. If you want to get really smart, look at the markets that you refer the most to, find your script partner in that market, right?
Right.
So lead gen, lead follow-up, go on appointment, scripts and role play, negotiate contracts. What's your system for negotiation and contracts in general? So do you have a transaction coordinator? Do you have a listing manager? There's no reason, and Shoes, you might disagree with me, and Joe, you might disagree with me. There is no reason that an agent should not be using an independent transaction coordinator from deal one.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would disagree with that. I love leverage. I'm like,
oh, but I need to learn it. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to sell.
So Brindley, you broke down your dollar per hour. One of the best advice I ever received was a very successful business owner during the downshift, and I was struggling, the shift in 2007, the crisis, right? The financial crisis. Said, do me a favor. He said, we're going to have lunch tomorrow. And in the next 24 hours, I want you to write down everything you do. Mm-hmm. And I want you to put what is the dollar amount next to it per hour, right?
Yep.
And literally I went back and I did this, and I spent 20 hours on it. Right. And I was like, is this $8 an hour? And this is 16, and this is whatever. Mm-hmm. I was so proud of it when I went back the next day to show it to him and say, look it, I had what I did. He looked at it, took a pen, scraped it out, right? Said $10 an hour on all the stuff I did, circled lead gen, and said $750 an hour. And then just went like that and gave it back. He said, you get it? And I was like, I get it.
It's 100%. And then take that 750 number and put it up in front of you, right? And that's your motivation to lead gen, and your motivation that the minute, because here's the deal. When I was a TC, when agents would call me between 8 and 11, I would answer, and then I would tell them, go lead gen, and I'd hang up on them.
Yeah, nice.
Because it's very easy to hide in transactions.
Right.
Because you can justify that you're being productive and that you're working in the business.
Yeah.
Yet what you're really doing is you're avoiding the lead gen, which is the hard part. Yeah.
All right. I want to finish on this note. So you kind of broke down the leverage with those systems, models. You talked about career visioning, but let's talk about the actual person as far as the role, right? Yeah. If I'm a newer agent, or if I'm who are the people I'm looking for leverage?
Yeah. So I would always start with the 80-20 rule. So we just gave you what your 20% is. Your 20% as an agent is those 5 things: lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointment, scripts and role play, negotiate contracts. So take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and write 20% on one side, and write those 5 things. And then write 80% at the top of the other column and write everything else in your business that needs to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your job description for your new hire.
Mm-hmm.
So from that list, you create your job description, and then you put together a missing persons report of what you're looking for. Now, I tell people, and we ask our clients for 5 non-negotiables. Come up with 5 strong non-negotiables that no matter what, you're not hiring that person if they don't have that characteristic or that thing. And those are the things that are most important to you. So some of you, that might be 2 years administrative experience. It might be a high C that's highly organized. It might be whatever those 5 non-negotiables are. And that becomes your integrity check as you're doing your search, because you've got the job description to make sure that they have the track record to succeed, and you have the 5 non-negotiables that you're not willing to settle for. Yeah. Because what starts to happen is the longer that it takes to find talent, and you got to look through a lot of talent. Karina Loken will tell you, the Lokens will tell you that. A lot of talent to find the diamond in the rough, right? And so what that does is it stops you from that desperation point. So when you get to that desperation point, you have those 5 non-negotiables to say, nope, that's my check. I'm not going to settle, right? And, you know, we get into this term, and I love this. Everybody wants a director of operations right now. Yeah. And what I say is, you can't have a director of operations if you don't have operations to direct. So you don't want a director of operations. Yeah. You want an executive assistant to start. It goes back to the model. Yeah. And an executive assistant is a high SC. They are going to do whatever it takes to take care of you. They are going to keep you organized. They are going to check the boxes. They are going to do all the things that you are not. Mm-hmm. Now, over time, that person may develop into someone that could be a leader of your operations, but the director of operations title and role doesn't come in until level 5. And that's because we're getting ready for expansion and we're building out our hub, and there needs to be a direct report to the CEO to just focus on operations. Yeah. So be careful that we're not thinking too big, too quick, and that we're sticking to the model and finding that perfect first hire.
Yeah. You nailed it, Brindley, right? I mean, it's like, if you think about it that way, like, hey, the direct report is coming to you, and the more people that are doing that, all you're doing is you can't do those 5 things because all you're doing is sit around and managing people, right?
Yeah. And you need the right person for your business right now.
Yeah.
You're hiring to the business that you have right now. And I think sometimes we get confused, and Shoes will probably agree with me on this, is that we hear things like hire the executive, the assistant executive, right? And hire this big grandiose person. Well, that's hiring for what your business is going to look like 5 years from now. And here's the thing, guys, we've shifted into a new generation. You better just plan like that the cap that you're going to have somebody in a role is 2 years. Yeah. Because millennial generations and beyond get bored, and they don't, we're starting to see longevity in a role. They may stay with a company, but they're not going to stay in the same role for longer. These assistant positions of being a secretary or an assistant for 20 years, those days are gone. Right. Right. So I always say to folks, like, if this person is willing to come into this role and kill it and can replace themselves in 2 years, gold. Yeah. Like, I just had a director of training, had her for 2 years. She got the department where it needs to be, is having a baby. We just replaced her, and this person's going to take it to the next level. Whew. Dang. I get passionate. I hope I'm not like coming across like, ah!
Dude, I was starting to look to see if my computer was on fire, but it's all cool and good. I love it.
John, did you have something to add? John unmuted himself.
Shoes?
No, I wouldn't even try to appear on the same stage. No, I'm sitting here in the corner just taking it all in.
Hey, everyone go down to the bottom right-hand corner of reactions and give a little clap for Brindley Tucker right there, man. Like,
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Man. Hey, Brindley, where do people, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to just be texting you a lot, right? You know, so where do people find the Miss Brindley, lovely Brindley Tucker if they need some help?
Oh, you're sweet. Well, follow me on Facebook, Brindley Tucker. Thank God, there's only one of me. My cell is 727-512-8255. 9098-727-512-9098. I'm going to put it in the chat. And then Brindley at kw.com is the easiest way. I'm here to help, guys. If you want to do, you can go to meetwithbrindley.com, meetwithbrindley.com. If you just want to do a 15, 30-minute call to talk about your business, more than happy to help in any way I can. You guys are family. Shoes and Joe have been really good to me, so anything I can do to help.
Love you, Brindley Tucker. I can't tell you how awesome you were today. Thank you so much.
Love you guys.
Love you, Brindley Tucker.
Very helpful.
You're awesome. I love all of you.
Hey
I know
guys.
you are, but what am I?
Hey guys, we got one more Lunch and Learn tomorrow, and it is Brindley. If you want to chime in, it's Tony Baroni from Tampa Bay.
Yeah, drop the mic. He's incredible. Incredible.
Tony Baroni is from downstate Illinois. He made the move to Florida, has built a massive real estate business. He's going to walk us through how he does that. And what he's going to really concentrate on is how the power of his marketing plan for his giving program, where he's doing giveaways right now that are getting people to call him. So it's going to be very impactful tomorrow. And I hope to see everyone there. Brindley, you're the best. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you guys. Have an awesome week.